Good morning, friends. Hi, third graders. I miss you. I'm going to read Stranded. You read or listened to the first chapter from one of the authors yesterday, and so I'm going to continue reading because I miss you guys and I like to read aloud. So, chapter 2. Jane sat on her bunk with her back pressed against the wall to steady herself. The boat was rocking too hard to prop her camera on a shelf like she usually did. Instead, she held it out at arm's length and pressed record. Hi everyone, it's Jane Bean again, reporting for Evanston Elementary. It took more to concentrate to hold the camera steady than it did to say the words. Today is June 28th and it's the fourth day of our sailing trip. I don't know if you can tell, but the weather is not nearly as nice today. Here, I'll show you. She held the camera up to the cabin's porthole to show the tossing waves outside. On the view screen, it looked as if the whole world was tilting back and forth. She didn't need her whole class to know how scared she actually was. Not Vanessa and the boys either. They all treated her like a baby to begin with, so she talked about the other things instead. I read in one of Uncle Dexter's books that the Pacific Ocean is 10,000 miles across and has some of the strongest wind currents in the world, Jane narrated. Less than 1% of the whole ocean is covered in land, so I guess there isn't much to stop the wind from blowing out here. She had done plenty of research for her report. She always did. Carter called her brainiac for doing extra credit work over summer vacation. But then again, Carter's best subject was Jim. Besides, it was something to do while the storm set in around them. Uncle Dexter says the weather can change really fast around here, Jane went on, as casually as she could. In the meantime, there's not that much to tell. We're all just staying put and holding on tight. Dex calls it hunkering down. So I guess that's what we're going to do. Until later, this is Jane Benson reporting from somewhere in the South Pacific. So then, just like yesterday, the author said there's a break, so a new person's talking. By the time it started to get dark, Buzz was starting to feel normal again. Maybe the seasickness was finally behind him. Or maybe there just wasn't anything left to throw up, Buzz thought. In any case, he still wasn't hungry. Nobody was. The weather had gotten worse, and it seemed to have taken away everyone's appetite. The kids all spent the evening sitting around the galley table, holding on the edges of things for balance as the boat rolled over the waves. Each time another one hit, it was like a jolt to the body. While they waited for the storm to pass, Jane watched and rewatched all the videos she had made for her report so far. Vanessa sat and played the same game on her phone over and over. She had given up trying to text her friends days ago, when it became clear that there was no cell reception out here on the open ocean. Carter listened to music with his headphones on and practiced nautical notes with an old piece of rope. Nautical knots on an old piece of rope. Buzz just sat, listening to the wind whistling through the mast and the rain pelting the boat from all sides. He had already run down the batteries on the handheld game he had bought, along with his spare batteries. On top of that, without any sun all day, this boat's solar panels hadn't been able to generate any electricity at all for the Lucky Star. The only other source of power was the boat's engine, but Dexter wasn't keen to use that in the storm. Dexter had told everyone to conserve electricity until further notice. That meant no laptop, no DVDs, and as few lights as possible below deck. Just after 8 o'clock, when the cabin windows had gone completely dark, the hatch opened and Dexter came down the stairs. All week long, he had been upbeat and smiley, like all kinds of friendly giant who laughed at just about anything. But not now. His expression was grim as he ran a hand over his gripped, wet face. I hate to say it, guys, but it looks like this is going to get worse before it gets better. There's a crazy cold front. Weather talk. Playing heck with the forecast. It's pushing some of the storm at us faster than we expected. He stopped and held tight to the upright pole in the middle of the saloon as the boat dipped and rose and dipped again. Coffee mugs clankered against one another in the cabinet. Jane's camera slid across the table. This kind of thing always is a possibility, but not to worry, Dexter went on. The only thing to do now is to sit tight while we skirt around the squall a little further. Does that mean we're changing course again? Vanessa asked. Yep, Dex said. He went to the nav station, unrolled a chart, and looked at it. But just temporarily. Today is Boomerang Day, and I'll have us right back on track by tomorrow. Boomerang Day was Dex's name for the trip's midpoint when they came around and headed back toward Hawaii. Maybe that was a good thing, Buzz thought. It meant he'd gotten half of the trip over with. Then again, it also meant that they were as far from home as they had ever been. When Dex looked up from his chart, he seemed to sense something in their faces. He turned toward the group again with his hands clasped in front of them. Guys, I think your parents would be proud to see how brave you've all been. I know it's scary, but you just got me and Joe up top, handling everything. He just needs you to be down here for one another. Make sense? Yeah, Vanessa said quietly. Carter shrugged. Carter? Dex said, leaning down to catch his eyes. You got a problem with that? No, Carter said. I just wish I could help. You can help, he said, down here, right now. Your job is to hang tough and hang together, so you're ready to go when we need you on deck again. Buzz looked again down at the table, trying not to show his face. He didn't feel very tough right now. You know what, Dex said? I'm almost glad the storm came up. That seemed to get everyone's attention. Why? Jane asked. I sailed with some rough and tumble crews before, even tougher and rougher than you four, he said with a wink. I remember this one time. We were out fishing a couple 100 miles north of Oahu. He got hit with the biggest, fast, and moving squall I've ever seen. It was like sailing sideways with enough wind to blow you right off the deck. That storm made this one look like a little spring shower, and I don't think any of us thought we were going to see the morning. Dex, Buzz said, I thought you said you were glad the storm came up. Right, he said. My point is, we all pulled together that night and made it through. Not only that, but those guys are still some of my best buddies. A hard turn like this just brings you closer together. And let's face it, isn't that exactly what your parents wanted you kids to get out of this trip? Just then, the small companion doorway at the back of the rear sleeping cabin opened up, and Joe shouted down from the cockpit. Dex, can you get up here now? What is it? Vanessa asked, the worried pain in her voice. What's going on? Probably just a loose line. I'll go find out, Dex said. You sure you don't want some help? Carter said. I can hold the wheel. Dexter turned and put out one of his big hands to stop Carter. There's nothing that needs doing right now, he said, but I do want you guys to strap on your PFDs. What? Buzz blurted out. PFD stood for Personal Flotation Device, also known as a life jacket. Dex already had his on, but he's been working up on top. Why do we need those? It's just standard operating procedure for a storm like this, Dexter said. You never take chances on a boat. He pulled the 4 vests off the hook where they hung by the stairs and dropped them on the galley table. Then he stopped, just long enough to show his old familiar smile. There's nothing to worry about, you guys. Buzz glanced around at the others to see if anyone was buying in. From the somber expressions all around, it didn't seem like anyone was. But Dex had already gone back up top and closed the hatch behind him. Watch out, Vanessa scooted Buzz out of the way as she got up the table. What are you doing? He asked. I'm calling Dad. She stepped over to the navigation station and pulled the black plastic satellite phone out of the wall-mounted charger. They've all been shown where and how to use it. But we're only supposed to use that for emergencies, Jane said. Just then, another powerful gust of wind screeched from outside, tossing the boat into a hard tilt. Vanessa barely caught herself on the countertop to keep from stumbling, while the others struggled to put on their life jackets. Yeah, close enough, she said, and started to dial. Another person is going to talk now, Vanessa. Vanessa is the oldest character, oldest sibling. Vanessa held onto the nav station desk and sat herself down as the boat continued to tilt and roll. She didn't care if Dexter wanted them using the satellite phone or not. Maybe he'd been through worse, but she sure never had. The phone wasn't complicated either. They'd been shown all the emergency equipment on the first day, when Dex and Joe had taken them through hours of boat school before they set sail. Vanessa hadn't paid attention to all of it, but this was something she remembered. She dialed 001 and then her father's cell phone number. As soon as it started to ring on the other end, she felt tears beginning to sting the corner of her eyes. Hello? Her father's voice suddenly came into her ear. Dad! Vanessa shouted. Dad! Vanessa, what's going on? Eric Diaz asked. I can barely hear you. We're in a storm, Daddy. It's bad, like really bad. Jane was there suddenly reaching for the phone. Can I talk to Mom, please? Pretty, please? Then Carter was there too, only Buzz stayed where he was, but he watched just as intently as the other two. Where's Dex? Her father asked. He and Joe are up on top, Vanessa told him. Everyone's okay. I just want to hear your voice. Listen, sweetie, you're going to be fine. Dex and Joe know what they're doing. Just try to hold on and be brave, okay? Vanessa took a deep breath. Okay, she said, mostly because there wasn't any choice. Is Beth there, Dad? Jane wants to talk to her. All right, hang on a second, I'll get her. But before Vanessa could even hand over the phone, an enormous scraping sound screeched up from under the boat. Everyone seemed to stop, short with a sudden violent jerk, as if someone had jammed on the brakes. Vanessa felt herself thrown toward the back of the boat. The others tumbled around her, and the phone flew out of their hand. A cascade of books, dishes, storage baskets, and swiftly unrolled charts came down on top of where she landed hard against the aft cabin door. What just happened? Carter shouted. Did we hit some rocks? Buzz asked. Dad, Vanessa shouted. Dad, can you hear me? She started scrambling through the pile of debris on the phone, but she couldn't find the phone anywhere. Instead, her hand landed in cold water. It was soaking the carpet, Vanessa realized. When she looked to right, she saw it was also pouring in from the under small engine compartment door. At that same moment, Joe came barreling down the galley steps. Is it good to have water inside the boat? No. Joe, what's going on? Vanessa said. He clambered over the mess as if none of them were even there and fell onto the wooden stool bolted in front of the nav station. What are you doing? Vanessa asked. Joe, where's Dex? There's water coming in. But Joe wasn't listening. He was holding the sideband radio transmitter with one hand and adjusting a dial on the console with the other. SOS! SOS! This is Lucky Star, Joe said into the headset. SOS! SOS! This is Lucky Star. Do you copy? Whatever was said next, Vanessa didn't hear. It was swallowed up by a brilliant flash of lightning and a crash of thunder, too overwhelming to be anywhere but right on top of them. And the next moment, the entire cabin was thrown into darkness. I'll see you tomorrow for Chapter 3. All right, see you later.